Hey everybody, Tim here with today's episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Season 4, Episode 8, The Sword of Kahless. This is a terrific episode. It's really well done, and it has so many connections to other episodes. I feel like if you just took somebody who knew nothing about Star Trek and put them in front of this episode, they'd have no idea what was going on. Now, first of all, I want to give a special shout out. This is the 80th episode, which to most people, 80 episodes, it's an accomplishment, but it's not huge. Usually they wait till the 100th episode. For Star Trek, 80th episode is always important because it has now surpassed the original series. So that's kind of cool. This episode has the return of Kor, played by the amazing John Colicos. Now, Kor was in the original series. He was in the episode Blood Oath. And, most people know him as Baltar from the original Battlestar Galactica. And so this episode's kind of important because it's Kor and it's Worf teaming up together. So Kor was the first main Klingon in the original series, and Worf was the first main Klingon to be in the Next Generation. So you have these two Klingons who basically redefined the culture, or one started the culture and one redefined the culture, teamed up and put together. So it's kind of a very important episode. Now, in the beginning, when Worf first meets Kor, he talks about, your battle with Kirk on Organa, which is a shout-out to that original episode, The Errand of Mercy. And Kor decides, he brings up Kang and Koloth, which we saw also characters from the original series, which we saw in the Blood Oath episode, and how he wants to go searching for the lost bat'leth of Kahless, which this is such a badass sword. I want to kind of jump to the end. I've always wanted a bat'leth. I keep hinting to my husband that I really want one for my birthday, which is coming up soon. So if he watches this, there you go. But this is a badass bat'leth. It's just amazing. It is gorgeous looking. And so Dax, Kor, and Worf decide to go on an adventure to the Gamma Quadrant to find this missing Sword of Kahless. And they talk about how originally, 1,000 years ago or something, the Kronos, the Klingon homeworld, was conquered by Herx, which kind of bothered me. I hate that name. It just reminds me of Hercules, but it's spelled with a Q, whatever. And they were from the Gamma Quadrant, and they stole the Sword of Kahless, and they basically took it with them. And it's been lost ever since, and they have to go find it. And most of the episode is just about them looking for it. Terrell shows up, who is the son of Duras, which we saw him before as a younger Klingon, played by a different actor. He was in the Redemption two-parter of the Next Generation. And he shows up, and they get rid of him pretty quick. And then Kor ends up talking about how he wants to take this bat'leth and basically take over the Klingon Empire. Because if you remember from the premiere of this season, the Federation and the Klingon Empire are at odds now with Chancellor Gowron. And Worf wants to take the bat'leth to Kahless, the rightful, or Kahless, who is the rightful heir. And the reason I say that is because we've seen Kahless come back, the resurrection of Kahless from that episode of The Next Generation, The Rightful Heir, where he's I don't know, it's hard to explain. He's like the figurehead while Gowron is still head of the council. And so Worf wants to return it to Kahless and basically bow down and say, here's your sword back. And Kor wants to say, you guys are a disgrace, I'm going to take over. And so now the rest of this episode is all about Kor and Worf at odds with each other. But they still have to work together to get out of this. By the time we get to the end, they come to peace to each other, and they just beam it out into space. And they're like, you know what? Neither one of our society is ready for this, and maybe we'll find it again in another 1,000 years. But overall, I think this is a great episode. Any episode that has some of the original characters in it, like Kor, and then we'll see Kang again in Voyager, those characters and those actors are so good at what they did. John Colicos is such a good actor, and he brings that air about him that you just can't help but respect him. I loved him in the original Battlestar Galactica. Watching him in this almost made me want to rewatch that series. So who knows, maybe eventually I'll get to that. But overall, I think it's a great episode. This is one of the first episodes. So the way writing TV shows works is they submit a script and it gets approved, and then they go to the next one. So the first 7 episodes had already been approved before Worf had really joined the show. And that's why, for the most part, he was kind of in the background. This is the first episode that, after they knew they were going to have Worf as a main character, they could write around that. And that's why he plays such a big part in this episode. So it was great to see Michael Dorn really shine. And like I said, it's great to see Worf and Kor together. So for those who have seen this episode, what do you guys think about seeing Kor from Errand of Mercy to Blood Oath to this episode? What did you guys think about seeing the return of Terrell? What did you guys think about all of the little shout outs to like the Rightful Heir and the Redemption 2-parter and the Errand of Mercy? Go ahead, let me know. Thank you guys for everything. I will see you guys next time for Our Man Bashir.